minute, Doc. Are you telling me it's 8:25? Damn, I'm late for school. I gotta go. Hey guys, Manny Fraker here again to talk to you about movies. As always, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and ring the bell for future notifications. Here to talk to you, as always, about movies. In, I believe, 1918, the very first movie was filmed in color. It was called Cupid's Angling. Later in 1939, in Technicolor, was The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind. Prior to that, all movies were black and white, with the exception of, color sketches being included in some segments and stuff like that. But it was all filmed in black and white. Here in 2019, we have a lot of technology, a lot of editing software, there's so much available. It's a great time to be alive, But even still, people use black and white to film movies. So back in the 1990s, there was a guy named Kevin, and he really wanted to make a movie. Didn't have the money, didn't have big studio connections. All he had was his credit cards, his comic book collection, and some family who were supporting him. So he borrowed some money from his family, he sold his coveted comic book collection, and he maxed his credit card out. And this guy was on a shoestring budget, man. And when it came time to film the movie, there's a lot of things that go into filming movies, lighting, stuff like that. So between, that costs a lot of money for lighting. And it costs a lot of money for the different technologies for editing color film. So he just said, screw it, I'll make the movie in black and white. That movie was Clerks, and that guy was Kevin Smith, and he's just been taken off since there. Funny fact about that movie, there's a plot line where Dante, the main character, keeps telling everybody how we're still open even though the shutters are closed and locked. And he keeps saying, somebody jammed a shoved gum in the lock, right? Really what happened was Kevin Smith worked at that convenience store and the video store next door. He went back and forth, just like Randall and Dante. And he was allowed to film there only if he filmed when the store was closed. And when a convenience store is closed, the shutters are down. So they just worked it into the script. I think that's really cool. And it just ended up, even though it was because of, the price of everything, it just ended up looking really cool in black and white. Granted, the rest of his movies are in color, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob, Dogma, etc. But I thought that was really neat. Another film that comes to mind, American History X. That's filmed in both color and black and white, and here's why. So obviously, in the beginning of the plot line, Derek Vineyard, played by Edward Norton, has some very black and white ideas about the world. That black people are different than white people, etc. I don't agree with any of that, but those were his views, right? So anytime in the movie where there's a flashback of his old life prior to going to prison and having, that mental change there, it's in black and white to demonstrate Derek's outlook on the world. And then when you see him out of prison, all those scenes are in color. Because now he can see the world for what it really is. He can really like woke up to what the world really was. So I just think it's really interesting how they're able to use black and white and color to demonstrate different things. It wasn't just for a little effect. It was to really drive home, parts of the story. So you have that, and then also Schindler's List. Now, some of us who are old enough, I'm almost 40, for example. My grandfather fought in World War II. So, when he would tell me stories, or when he passed away and we were looking through his things, he had all these black and white photographs of him, in the military, and even that time period in the 40s, all the pictures are black and white. So a lot of us, those who weren't, living in the 30s and 40s, remember World War II or look at World War II in black and white. That's our viewpoint on it, between, the movies with John Wayne, pictures from our grandparents or great-grandparents, history books, stuff like that. All the photographs are in black and white. So that's how we see it. So when Steven Spielberg was making Schindler's List, one of the reasons why he wanted it in black and white was because we all remember it that way. He wanted to bring all of us as close as possible to that time period. And in doing so, he made the movie black and white to kind of help that connection there. And then obviously black and white movies traditionally, or can seem a lot more dramatic, and this movie was clearly a dramatic movie. So we used black and white to do that. Couple funny facts about that: when you film something in black and white, certain colors don't show up. For example, greens don't show up very well, particularly, I believe, darker greens. So a lot of the time when they were filming this movie, anytime somebody had something on, it didn't match. They're like, this doesn't match, this looks terrible. What about the green slacks, the green shirt? He was like, dude, it doesn't matter, it's in black and white, it's okay. So there was a lot of confusion for people, in the movie who were acting in it, just like looking at themselves like, oh my God, this doesn't match. But again, it was black and white. Another cool fact about that movie, the filming of it was so bleak due to the intense subject matter that people were just so depressed. So they would have Robin Williams come on set, crack a few jokes, do a monologue, whatever the case may be, to cheer people up. Another really cool thing about that movie, there was obviously probably hundreds, maybe thousands of extras. So to come up with period-specific costumes for that movie was very difficult. As it turns out, there were still a lot of people from Poland that lived in the 1930s and 40s, that lived through the Holocaust, that still had clothing, and they were eager to donate their clothing from that time period, about 60 years ago at that time, to make the movie. So it's just really interesting what all goes in the movies, man. Raging Bull, real quick, is another one. Scorsese is very particular about things. For instance, if you watch Boardwalk Empire, the boardwalk that was made, he wanted those planks on the boardwalk, the wooden planks, to be the exact specifications of the ones in the 1920s. So if you were to go out with a tape measure on that set, if it was still in existence, and measure, the length and the width of those planks, it's the same length and width that was used to make the planks in the 1920s for the real boardwalk in Atlantic City. So that being said, when he made Raging Bull, it was the same way, very particular, and he was filming it, and somebody pointed out to him that Jake LaMotta's boxing gloves in the movie just weren't quite the right shade, and Scorsese's real crazy about that stuff. It just wasn't the right color, and he was having problems with things like that throughout the filming of the movie, so he just said, screw it, let's make it in black and white, nobody will notice. And between the black and white and the music, it just, again, ends up really conveying emotion and really being a lot more dramatic due to the black and white. So that's my video today. As always, please hit the like and subscribe button. Ring the bell for future notifications. In fact, why don't you do that right now? I'll wait. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You probably did it by now. So thanks for your support. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you around the internet. Have a great day.